name's Amanda Veinott. I'm the founder and CEO of Miligistix. Miligistix is a military talent consulting firm. We help companies and organizations across the United States figure out this whole military hiring process. A lot of folks think that it's more difficult than it really should be, and I've worked with over 30 companies across the United States in 8 different industry verticals to figure out the hiring process and the retention process of both veterans and military spouses. So what I'm talking about today is more on the employment side: hiring, retention, figuring out those best practices. Over the course of 2 years and those 30 different companies, there has come to light a series of best practices that I call the 10 keys to military talent program optimization. And what that means is that we figure out a process that works for each of the clients and optimize their recruiting, hiring, engagement, and retention strategies to ultimately result in a culture shift rather than just program implementation. So I'm going to go over the 10 different keys of that program optimization for hiring and retention of service members and spouses. And I'm hoping that the veterans in the room can also take away some information from my statements that are more directed at the employers and the schools in the room. The first one, in any initiative that you're starting, whether you're in a nonprofit or a for-profit, is to build a team. And we have an amazing team of panelists up here that are all on the advisory board for Boost Up. But when you think about building a program or changing your culture within your organization, you need to have a team supporting your efforts. And the first layer of that team comes from the top. Any long-lasting and sustainable effort is going to be leadership-driven. So who within your organization can be your executive sponsor if it's not your CEO or the first person in charge of your company? If we're talking from an employer's perspective, it would be wonderful to have the CEO, COO, CFO all on board for veterans hiring. It makes everyone's life a lot easier if it's a leadership directive. Next, you want to have your core team, or I call them champions. It's the person who is responsible for the day-to-day efforts of military hiring. These are the people who are organizing the efforts at the executive level, at the mid-level management level, all the way down to the employee level. They're the person who's the single point of contact for all of the efforts. And then you want your support teams. And every strong team of veterans hiring companies, when they put these teams together, have veterans or military spouses in the support team. So you need to have an executive sponsor, your champion who handles the single point of contact duties and responsibilities of your program, and then all of your support structure throughout your organization. So your number one ground zero effort is to build your strong core team. The next key to optimization is assessing your current program. I have a consulting background, so of course doing a needs analysis and a base assessment is key. So whether you have a couple of efforts for recruiting veterans or you have a full program that touches on those 4 pillars, recruiting, hiring, engagement, and retention, and ultimately the cover of culture, you need to assess where you're at and where you'd like to be, and then figure out how you're going to get from where you are to where you ultimately would like your goal to be. And you need to look at your strengths and your weaknesses. What's working well, what's not, and then figure out who else do I need to bring on, either internally or as a contractor, to help us get where we're going. So that's the second key. The third one is building a business case for executives. So fortunately, most people in the audience right now know that veterans can increase the bottom line and impact businesses in a very positive way. However, executives tend to like to see strong figures or concrete facts about how veterans are making a business impact, either at our organization or organizations like ours. Competitive analysis is wonderful. If somebody can do some research about how veterans are impacting a competitor, that would be amazing. One thing that you can do to help build your business case is to look at the veterans population already within your company or your organization. They will ultimately become your greatest allies. So if you can identify your military spouses, your dependents, even if they're children or family members of veterans, if you can identify the veterans, the members of the Guard and Reserve, even folks who are from foreign allied nations and their veterans. Everybody has networks. We're all in this room today because of a network. So if you can tap into your current veteran population to start building that network, it will become a lot easier to hire and then retain that population. The next thing that you want to do is identify your current talent needs. So if you're an organization like Caesars has 65,000 employees across the United States at different properties. The problem is people try to bite off way more than they can chew. And trying to tackle a population of 65,000 is a lot more difficult than tackling a population of maybe 65 or 650. So if you can bring your focus into hiring locally instead of all across your platform, if it's 65,000 people, then you can pluck at the low-hanging fruit first. So identify your greatest talent needs and then focus on where veterans and military spouses are already doing really well. Try to replicate those jobs. Pick out 3. I always like to use 3. Pick out 3 jobs or careers that veterans are already succeeding in, and then try to place more veterans and military spouses into those types of roles. Your next key to optimization is sharing success stories. So when you identify those veterans, military spouses, members of your executive team who are military themselves, you can do write-ups of their career path. How did they transition out of the military and into their first role? Have they spent the last 20 years in your organization, or did they have a very distinct path that they followed? Try to share their story, share their successes, both internally across your organization and externally. It's a really great marketing tool if you can actually share real-life stories of successful veterans and military spouses within your organization. The next one kind of builds off of that success story, and that is a career page for veterans and military spouses. If your organization, company, school does not have a career page or a place to go for military talent to see these stories, you're missing a key point of connection. Even if you wanted to do this on LinkedIn, you can create a career page for your organization either on LinkedIn or Twitter, on Facebook. It depends on your target audience, specifically for the military community. As we all know in this audience, the military is very tight-knit, and especially on the spouse side, spouses share information like crazy. So if you can direct military spouses and veterans to one key area to share stories, to talk about careers, to highlight career paths, it will become a lot easier for people to share information about available careers, and it will just kind of organically grow and market itself. The next thing is to engage with specific organizations. So I'm going to just give you a high-level overview of a few of them. If you're not already engaging with, I'm happy to make a direct connection for you. Soldier for Life out of the Army. Back in the 2010-2011 timeframe, General Odierno, who is no longer with the Army, he retired and is a senior advisor to JP Morgan Chase now, he breathed a lot of life into the Army's transition program. He saw that it wasn't necessarily working for the service member and the employers, so he put Colonel Adam Rock in charge of Soldier for Life and brought on a couple of lieutenant colonels and deputy directors to basically go across the United States and connect transitioning soldiers with employers and with schools and healthcare. So connect with Soldier for Life if you haven't already done so. The ESGR, the Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve, handles the reserve and the Guard components. They help connect employers directly to Guard and Reserve talent. The next one is military spouse and partnerships. You'll notice I talk a lot about military spouses. They're on this coin, they're just on the flip side, and they also are underemployed or, in many cases, unemployed. So the Military Spouse Employment Partnership is a Department of Defense funded organization, just like the Soldier for Life and the ESGR, so it's free for employers, and they have single points of contact that you can get in touch with in order to figure out how to bring military spouses into your organization. And then the last one that's a DoD-funded organization is the Marine for Life program. So there's a sister program at the Marine transition centers just like the Soldier for Life. It's not as robust, but it's growing. The Marine Corps is much smaller than the Army, so the Army has a bit more resource, but the Marine for Life program does effectively the same thing the Army Soldier for Life program does. And then finally, at the state level, there's job centers for veterans. If you're an employer, definitely connect directly with the job centers. There's two more that I'll talk about, and one of them is getting strategic about philanthropy. So many large organizations have $100,000 to $300,000 philanthropy budgets specifically for veterans. Well, if you're giving that money out, what's the ROI that you're seeing for that funding? A lot of organizations say they do wonderful things for veterans and military spouses, but what is your $15,000 or $25,000 donation actually getting in return? They're not a for-profit. I get it. They can't give you direct service, and a lot of times there's blurred lines. But get strategic about your philanthropy. Supporting an organization like Boots Up will help you as an employer directly connect to the source. It will help you to reduce your need for third-party recruiting firms or headhunters, things like that. So if you can donate $25,000 to an organization like Boots Up, you might negate the need to spend that $25,000 on one junior military officer placement. Now, the final thing that I'll say, and I've mentioned as much as you focus on hiring, if you are spending thousands of dollars and thousands of hours of time on hiring folks, why are you not focusing on retention? If you're losing them, then why are you hiring them? And fortunately, there's a big shift right now within the military talent space to focus on retention, because retention is actually a key to hiring. If you have a strong employee engagement program or a strong retention program, your hiring kind of takes care of itself. Your employees, especially your veteran employees and your military spouse employees, become advocates for your organization. If they stay, they're going to help hire other people that will become satisfied and productive and ultimately stay within your organization as well. If anyone has any questions specifically about the employment side afterwards, I'm happy to speak with you.